Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome out to the 27th of December, 2023 here at Giga-Texas. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas and you were able to spend some time with friends and family during the holidays. Now that we're over, I'm coming back out here today just to get a good sense of what's going on. There's not a lot of activity. A lot of the Cybertrucks have actually been moved off site. As you can see by a few of these images, there's still some being stored over on the west side in that temporary staging location. It does look like these Cybertrucks are missing a few parts. Maybe they're just waiting for those to come in and then they'll be finishing these up and getting ready for shipping. As you can tell by this image, the east outbound lot is virtually empty. There is a section of Model Ys and only 4 Cybertrucks, and these have been moved over by the main offices. As you can tell, there are no more on the outbound lot. Now, we've been seeing with Jeff Roberts and Brad Sloan's video, and I saw today as I was arriving, that trucks are taking Cybertrucks off site. So it looks like they are definitely getting ready to deliver them. And then over at the testing and calibration lot, we see some activity with Model Ys being moved over towards the outbound lot, and there's only a couple of Cybertrucks. I did see a few others driving around, but overall there's a lot less right now. I think that's because they've been moved off site. Plus, there's not a whole lot of production going on right now in this middle week between Christmas and New Year's, but I expect that to pick up dramatically at the beginning of 2024. So without further ado, let's get into the drone, let's fly around, and let's see what Giga-Texas looks like today on this beautiful 27 December 2023.
Thank you to my Patreon members and ex-subscribers. Members and subscribers gain access to hundreds of high-resolution images, previews of future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. It's a beautiful day here at Giga-Texas. No production for this week, but there is a lot of activity, specifically with getting a lot of the Model Ys and Cybertrucks put on delivery vehicles and taking off site and hopefully getting to customers. I would like to start on a few of the key areas, specifically here, the Megapack site. I want to show you some of the details on this slow day and some of the things that we'll be watching for. Right now, there is still some work being done here at the south end of the Megapacks, getting these ready to go. On the north end, the reason why it's not connected yet, and I'll put up an arrow here, but there is an insulator that had a problem. A couple of videos ago, we saw it being removed and taken off site. You can see right now where the arrow is. Without that insulator, they cannot do the connection to the grid right now, so the Megapacks are still waiting for that to be repaired or replaced, and then we'll be able to see that happen. So hopefully early next week that will happen. As we get ready to fly up over the power lines, it's a good view of the north end of the electrical switch yard, and also looking off into the distance where some of the fields and the materials are being stored on the far north side. And a good look across the Martin Marietta plant over towards where the battery cathode plant and die shop is located. And I'll bring the drone around here, drop it down in altitude, and give you a good view of this north end of the electrical switch yard and Giga-Texas in the background. Now, when you look at Giga-Texas, one of the things you'll notice is that it is now completely white. And that means that all of the stain work, at least on the building as it exists right now, is now completed. And we'll be waiting to see if they will be doing that on some of the other buildings in the near future. But here's a good look at the electrical switchyard, the control room, the fencing around, and in the background, the megapacks and that north electrical system for the megapacks as well. And of course, the work here on the south end that continues near these two trailers. The next area I want to give you some updates on is the battery cathode and die shop complex. As we fly over this pond that's used by Martin Marietta, it's a good view of the west side of the die shop, some of the excavation work that is underway, and there is some slab removal and a new foundation being put inside this structure, just inside that large door. I'm not sure what that is actually for, but there's continue to have equipment being placed in here to do some of the die maintenance and also some of the design and testing that will go on. And a lot of this is being used for the casting machines that are over in the main factory. But there's a good view. We can see that there's been some rain. It's being ponding on the west side of the die shop. Hopefully, once they get all the asphalt in and the drainage pipe system connected, that will be a problem that they will no longer have. As we fly up over the south end, I'll turn the drone back and just give you a good view of this south end portion of the die shop. Still waiting to see the glass and the doors installed on that corner on the southeast side, but hopefully that'll be very soon. As I bring the drone even lower, we get a good sense of the alleyway, the concrete work that has been done, some of the trenching that still remains. And we'll be seeing more of the concrete here in the middle section between the tanks on the right and the die shop on the left. But overall, this area is getting a lot more concrete and getting closer to being completed. Here's a good view of the distance between the vaporizers on the right and the stainless steel tanks and all the manifolds that have been put in, that underground conduit that connects the two structures and that chiller plant, and of course how the chiller plant looks today. Now I did notice that some of the fans were spinning earlier when I was doing some photos, so it looks like these chiller plants are still, even though they're being constructed, they have some operational capability. Now as we fly up here towards the north side of the west part of this facility, get a good view of the pond that still remains on the left, the lift station in the middle with those concrete vaults, the asphalt that has been placed in the middle section, and the preparation work on the west side for more of that asphalt in the near future. And I'll pull away towards the northeast just to give us a good look at the current situation with all of the materials, what's being stored, some of the equipment. We can see those shiny pipe-like segments on the right, still waiting for installation, and those two stainless steel tanks as well. As we approach into the cell test lab and also recycling lab, that smaller steel structure, we can get a good sense of some of the containers that have been placed here, the asphalt, and some of the marking that has been placed as well. In the water pond on the left, we can see the outfall channels have been operational because there's water in it, and also the inflow channels as well. And this is just a good view looking on the east side. There's a lot less material. I've been mentioning that over the last several videos, but it definitely looks like this is in the process of being cleaned up, and there's far less material waiting to be installed now in the cathode plant. So I would expect to see the cathode plant potentially having its first set of operation in the first quarter of 2024. And of course, the crash testing lab continues to be very busy. We've seen a lot of vehicles being crash tested, and we talked in a video about a couple weeks ago about the facility and some of the equipment they have to conduct the crash testing. So let's fly over the east side, the warehouse on wheels, and let's go over towards the outbound lot and take a look at the activity there today. With the exception of these 4 Cybertrucks, all the rest of the Cybertrucks have been moved off-site. And as I mentioned in the intro, Jeff Roberts, Brad Sloan, and even myself on the way up today saw trucks carrying Cybertrucks off the site. So that's really exciting that they're headed their way towards customers. In the upper right, you can see there are no vehicles. That's normally where the Cybertrucks are stored. And then here are the remaining Model Ys being lined up and prepared for pickup, most likely later this week or probably the beginning of next week once we get past the New Year's. But otherwise, not any production going on, so there's not a lot of Model Ys to be seen here in the outbound lot. The testing and calibration lot is full, and we'll take a look at that shortly. I wanted to show you the materials here that continue to be delivered, all of these concrete items on the right-hand side of the screen for that multi-level parking garage. It looks like there's some concrete being poured here in this outfall channel to help drain some of these trenches that are part of that water management system. And of course, another view of the concrete parts and also some of that rebar mesh on the left that's going to be used to put the final coating of concrete on the floors and the roof of the multi-level parking garage. And I've had some viewers ask, is that garage for new vehicles? No, it's for employees, and has been recently mentioned there's going to be a large hiring spree coming soon, and it will greatly increase the employee headcount here, so they need that extra parking. The testing calibration lot, as I showed you, or mentioned that it's busy with vehicles being moved over towards the outbound lot. And we also see a couple of Cybertrucks, but again, no production right now, so they're just moving what has already been produced late last week and getting those ready for shipping. The roundabout looks pretty good here with all the markings and all of the landscaping. With all of the rain, that's really made that grow quite nicely. And of course, by the receiving doors, we see more of the work and the dirt work being prepared for the eventual concrete aprons and finishing that section out. I'm going to turn back towards the main factory, give you a view towards the north along this east side, just to get a good sense of how this looks today. And then I'm going to cross over the factory, and we're going to take a look at what's going on the west side. Now, as we fly up over the power lines and the roof, I'll bring the drone down a little bit and show you this section with all of the steam coming up. This is part of another HVAC ventilation system that was installed earlier this year. And obviously it is quite operational right now, as are many of the other vents, and you can see some of the steam rising. So let's fly up over the rest of the roof and we'll resume on the west side. Continues here, removing this ramp on the bottom left, and you can see the dirt section and all of the walls except for just the small segments next to that opening have been removed, and I'm going to be curious to see what they replaced that with. And as I mentioned before, that was one of the first concrete structures put in on the west side about 2.5 years ago. So as we continue to fly along the west side towards the south, you see a lot of the trucks that are part of the warehouse on wheels have been brought over here, put on the receiving doors, and that's positioning for parts for production. The end of line on the left is not active at all because there is no production going on because of the holidays. And then despite the sun, I'll try to give you a good view of the west entryway. You can see that stone glass and that trapezoidal section. There's one pane that was removed. I don't know if it was damaged, but you can see it's kind of a satin look, whereas everything else is very shiny. And then as I pull away, this is a good view of this landscape section and that trailer with that graffiti with the Cybertruck on it as well. But no Cybertrucks here at the entrance. Those are normally used for security, so they're out around the site or being used by some of the employees over the holidays. As we continue to fly towards the south and along the receiving docks here on the left that support the Cybertruck production, we can see how the Cybertrucks are being stored and how many of them are here right now on this temporary site. Now, one of the things that I noticed and some of my viewers noticed is that some of them are missing some parts, some of the kind of the plastic on the rails of the beds, and some other smaller parts. I think that may be just related to getting the supply chain working during the holidays, and maybe they're just waiting for some of the parts to come in, finish those vehicles off, and then they'll be moved over for shipping out of the outbound lot soon. And of course, with that west support facility across the highway nearing completion, hopefully in the first quarter of 2024, we'll see a lot more of the vehicles stored over there, which is a much better location for a variety of reasons. Now on the south end, we can see the work that's being done with the footings, also the perimeter grade beam and some of the yellow forms. We also see some of the remnants of the water that has been deposited here because of some recent rains. And the steel structure itself, it actually is getting operation, or at least the crews are working on putting in more of the steel right now, even though it's kind of a slow in between holiday week. But this gives you a good idea of just how much it has grown towards the west. It is now at the end of the Stamping 2 extension on the west side, and that'll continue to develop it more and more towards the west. You can also see crews working on some of the roof decking on this portion of the steel structure as well. Now as we turn around the corner, this just gives you a good view of the materials that are being stored on the east side of stamping, and also the development of that multi-level parking garage, and we'll get a closer look at that here shortly. The multi-level parking garage continues to grow towards the east. You can see several sections now, and they're finishing up building in yet another completed section. On the ground, we see the work on the footings continue, and also that center section with all the forms as well. And of course, more of the steel corrugated pipe, some of the gravel, and more of the concrete parts for the parking garage being stored here on this side. And earlier on the video, I was able to show you that they're working on some of the outfall channels and infall channels for those water management systems as well. As I fly up over the center of the site, I'll give you a good view closer in of how this part of the multi-level parking garage looks right now. Some of the double T's have been delivered on the trailers on the right. Looks like 4 more. And the crane is finishing uplifting to that floor, which it looks like maybe the 5th floor. And then those new double T's will be going on to the next floor, which will be the 6th floor. So anyway, it looks definitely like this is continuing to grow. And for right now, it's growing mostly towards the east. And pretty neat to see how quickly this structure is being assembled. So I'm going to pull back towards the south and kind of give you a good view of this part of the factory, the roadwork or the roadway that parallels the factory. And again, the materials that are being stored here, that new slab on that angled section, which I think is for some smaller stamping presses. And of course, how the entire south end looks, that steel structure, the steel parts waiting for their turn to be installed, and those large crates, which is more of the SEDAK, S-E-D-A-K, SEDAK, I think is how you pronounce it, glass panels, and they're more of the ones that we can see there installed, those 3 large panels. So they're going to continue to install those large glass panels along the entire perimeter of this new structure. So as we fly along River Road facing towards the west, we'll get ready to fly over the South Bridge, and also we can see some of the work on the left-hand side bottom where they're doing some of that Giga water loop system repairs and extension for that water system. I think it's treated water for Giga-Texas. As we fly over this pond with a little bit of the water on it, we get a good sense that there's continued work with earthwork and these trucks bringing in more dirt from off-site, and also the parking lot. Not very busy because there's not a lot of construction going on today. And of course, this new lot that is nearly completed. You can see all the gravel, all of the parking marking blocks that have been placed in, and generally what the shape looks like. And then the crews are continuing to bring in more dirt here for this section, preparing the grade. And I would expect at some point to see more of the gravel, and then they may make this more of the parking, and then we'll see the existing contractor parking in that kind of triangular section, perhaps prepared for some sort of construction. But as we continue to fly over on this side, I'll give the drone down lower and give you a good view of some of the materials that are being stored here. In the middle of the screen are a lot of the superchargers that are being prepared for the south end of the new end-of-line building. We see some more ventilation ducts and some white wrapped crates. More materials here have been delivered. A lot of these are in crates as well. And then some platform items on the ground in the middle of the screen. And of course, some of the containers that hold more equipment, mostly items that they don't want to get into the weather. Also, more of that orange kind of like cable sheathing and those spools. And of course, much more materials and equipment here waiting for their opportunity to be installed into the factory. So as I pull away and gain some altitude, this gives you a good view of this entire section. And then on the left is that contractor parking that, as I mentioned, may be used for some sort of construction in the future once that new parking area is completed. This is a good overall view of this entire West Support facility side with the work that's going on near the road, the paved section of the outbound lot, and of course we're flying over the warehouse on wheels. So let's get closer to the end-of-line facility and take a look at some of the activity there today. This trenched section and where all the conduit is where the superchargers are going to be installed. It'll be a covered supercharger station here on the south end of the end-of-line building, and it'll be a great place for the new vehicles to be charged and the final checkouts before they move to the outbound lot on the left-hand side of the screen for pickup. Along the west side of the end-of-line building, we can see final grade work, some of the white pipes as well, a little bit of trenching remaining, and then these three kind of containerized HVAC units that have been installed. We can see that some of the ductwork has been installed, almost completed, and another slab in between these two HVAC units, possibly for another piece of equipment that has yet to arrive. And we see a temporary unit also with that white pipe helping out with the facility right now. Crews are working on some of the ventilation system on top of the roof on this portion of the end-of-line facility. And then as I maneuver the drone around here, we can get a good sense of how much rain has been in this area in the last several days with this water detention pond kind of full. Also a good view of the outbound lot, some more trench work that's underway for the lighting system that will be installed. And on this side here, much of the electrical conduit and those concrete vaults have been installed now. And most of the trench work has been filled back in. So the electrical system and the connection under the highway to the main factory looks like it's coming along quite nicely. As we fly to the south along the east side of the building, this gives you a good view of how this part of the site is continuing to progress and have most of the underground work completed. And of course, here's a good view again of that south side covered supercharger system that will be installed here soon. Now, as we continue to fly to the south, one of the things I did notice here in the middle of the screen, we see these three kind of tanks with legs, and then of course this is near where the boring tunnel segments have been brought and stored. Now, what this looks like to me, I may be wrong, but it looks like this may be a sort of a temporary portable concrete manufacturing system that's being prepared. So who knows? Maybe that indicates we're going to see a lot of concrete construction, maybe of the boring tunnel segments. I'm not sure, but it is a neat and interesting development that is happening here on the south side. So that'll bring to a close this view of Giga-Texas on this Wednesday, the 27th of December. I hope you had a great Christmas, and we'll wrap up this week. We'll see the new year come, and then we'll be back at full speed once the new year has arrived. As always, thank you very much for your support throughout the year. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.